Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for coming on to Lament of Hope podcast, whether you're listening or watching. I'm very excited to always have you guys here and the stories we get to dive into. And today I'm talking with Katya Dunko, and she is an author, as well as I would say a survivor of many different aspects of hardships in life. But she wrote a memoir, which is almost a year now that's been out, which is kind of incredible. It's called I Drank from the Nile, and it is her memoir of her earlier life story. Um, and I came across it, as you guys know, as I'm doing my research, and it just seems so intriguing. And her life seems something that I was like, I think it would be encouraging. We wrestle with some hard things as well. So she was great, nice to come on here, despite the fact that she's going through some back pain at the moment. So I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to have her on. So, Katya, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I love and take any opportunity I get to speak about, hope and survival and recovery. And so your podcast also drew me in because I think this world really does need, somebody to feel seen and hear from someone that's been through a lot and to know that they have, um, they're not alone and you can overcome anything. So.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. Um, well, I want to start out just because you're almost a year into this book being published. I mean, how are you feeling? It's been like almost a year anniversary for your memoir in a couple weeks, and your story's been told to so many people, and your life obviously now has taken a different direction. I mean, how, looking back on it, how are you feeling? Like, is this what you expected it to look like?
Yeah, since I'm a self-published author, I knew it was going to be kind of slow starting out. But every day I work on getting my story out there. And even though some days I do want to give up, I do remember, it took me 7 years to write it. So all those late nights and, canceling plans and all the editing that we had to go through professionally and myself,
Hmm.
I remind myself why I even started this. So it feels great. I feel like, there's some scrutiny around a lot of my decisions, but I like to see all my reviews, the good and the bad. And, my story finds the person that really needs it. And that's how I kind of go about looking at it right now, is that it will land in the right hands. It's meant for someone. That person will find it. So I kind of let it organically develop and be spread that way.
What made you decide to share your story? Because I know, there's controversy and there's a lot of back and forth with so many people, even individuals who suffered through a lot of trauma of any kind, of like, do I talk about it? And if I do talk about it, do I publish something which then makes money from that? And
Uh-huh.
people just, it's like this, you know, tearing of the soul of like, I want to help people, but I don't know if this is the right thing. And then when you make a decision and you have peace about it, you have people on either side who are like, don't share your story so openly. That's way too much information. And then other people are like, no, like this will be helpful. How
Mhm.
did you wrestle with that decision?
Well, yeah, it is a lot on the open. So I held a lot back until I had my editor kind of say, you need to really open up. This can really, so she pushed me to really open up my story. Um, as far as, wrestling with it, authors don't really make that much money unless you're selling like 50,000 copies. We make about $1 a book, plus everything that I've invested. So it'll probably take me like 10 years to get my investment back. So I'm not doing it for the money. This is not my income stream. And actually every dollar my book makes, I donate to a charity in Ukraine
Yeah.
that helps displaced children. So um, why I wrote it, and I even had friends that I lost over this book, honestly, that were like, why would you put this out there? Everybody goes through a lot of stuff. Uh, I wrote it because I was really psychoanalyzing myself, and my book is very in depth of like psychoanalysis. I'm very raw and open about how I processed everything. Um, I I wrote it because I was so impressed, I guess, with myself of how I was able to go through all of it. And I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
well, what is my thinking throughout this whole journey? And what did I realize? And what can I share that with someone, you know? And I'm like, I really am very humble person. Like, I don't like to be the center of attention in a room. And um, I like to kind of be the underdog in ways, but you know, I don't like a lot of the recognition. I'm struggling with that. And people say, "Oh, you just want to be a hero," and I'm like, "No, you know, there's so many bad situations. I just want you to find pieces of yourself in me."
Hmm.
And I don't paint myself as a hero. I'm always making wrong decisions, but it's what I learned in the end. So my early commenters and reviewers are saying that, wow, I felt so seen, and that's my goal. I want my readers and those that do decide to read it understand that, you know, you're not alone, and it's okay to be broken. And then there's this is how I made it out of that brokenness.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wanted to ask you too, like, I know that from, at least from the individuals I talk to who've had hard stories, many of them, there's a certain memory or aspect of their life that, you know, things get less sharp, like they still are there and very, you can, you know, tell them and talk about them, but they do get less sharp in pain as you tell them or what happens. But there are some memories that don't. And I mean, at least from my experience too, like time makes them perhaps a little duller, but it doesn't take away the vividness of it for me. It's still very, there's like some memories in life I could tell you exactly all of it. I just remember it so keenly. um is there a certain memory from your life that either you shared in the book or not that you find very vivid, even through all the healing that you've gone through, that you can still, that's still more of a haunting memory for you?
Uh, you know what? Not really. For me, I have completely disconnected from that part.
Hmm.
And this is kind of a lot of, I guess, my message I also want to portray in that. And then I have my Instagram where I kind of share a lot of my lessons, but moving as in my life now. I see trauma, I don't discourage it, like, as far as like, um, I just don't give it life. I don't continuously feed it energy
Hmm.
with a memory of it. You know what I mean? I kind of, in my head, I'm like, okay, this happened. I can freely talk about I don't know if I can say the word grapes. You know, I can talk about me being held hostage. I can talk about all these things my mother has done to me, abandoned me, all this stuff. But what I realize, is like, that is the past. I can't change it. Like, I can't, it doesn't matter how much I try, I can't change it. I can think about it. That's the only way it is alive, is if I think about it. And if that brings out an emotion in me, if I think about the past and I still feel that, that means that it's not been worked through. So now I kind of see it. I'm like, oh, wow, that happened. Interesting. But what I did with that pain is the most important thing. Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
keep blaming that person for hurting me, I'm giving them the power to control me still. And it's easier said than done. I've cried it out. I've had therapists. Writing it helped. I think, met multiple therapists here in town and online. There's one therapy that really helped me. It's called the narrative therapy. And it's basically, you tell, you know, your life story to this therapist in years. We go through all these years and we rewrite it as far as the way we see it. So now I see
Hmm.
myself as, my traumas made me strong. That they're not a part of my weakness. They made me a resilient person. If I didn't have those traumas, I wouldn't be a resilient person.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like looking at it that way. Of course, I want the life that is void of that pain. Everybody wants it. I want to be that woman that has that perfect family, that perfect upbringing. But then I wouldn't be me. Then I wouldn't be able to take on any adversity. I would rather feel pain than not feel anything at all. So
Right.
I guess I came to terms with it, and I let it go, and I said, that's not me right now. I can only change what I do in the future. I can only be who I am right now. So, like my therapist says, she's like, Katya, put down those rocks. Why are you carrying a backpack of rocks? Put them down. It happened. Accept it, process it, teach someone, learn from it, forgive yourself. That's the last chapter of my book, is learning to forgive myself for the times when I was not strong enough, or I let somebody dictate my worth, or I was trying to find the answer in the others. I think self forgiveness is really important. Like, really holding yourself. And if you have nobody else to be like, your mom can't tell you sorry, or you don't talk with your parents, or that you had an abuser that did terrible things to you, they're never going to say sorry. And that's what we want. We want an
Right.
apology. So I told myself, I am so sorry that man did that to you. And I really, really felt it. Like, it was simple, yet so emotionally, cleansing. I cried. I held myself and cried. I was like, I've got you though, Kate. I've got you. I've got you. We're
Hmm.
going to get through it. So if there's one memory that, looking back, nothing really triggers anything in me.
Hmm.
I pointed to the past. That's why I was able to just openly write about it. And that's why there's so much critique in it, I think.
So, for people who, haven't read your book, and I will definitely have your website linked below. And I do encourage people to look at her Instagram too, because I've found some very encouraging and actually very emotional things on there that I found just really very sweet and endearing, even especially about her daughter. Um, so I do encourage you to look on that, and that also you'll see how to get there with her website. But can I ask, um, Katya, like for people who haven't read it, can you kind of give a some some background for like your growing up years, just your childhood part at first?
Mm-hmm. My mother had me when she was just turned 19.
Okay.
Uh, I'm from Ukraine. So I was born in Ukraine. My father left when I was 3. And my mom was she was an alcoholic, very involved in her school. Before she had me, she had an abortion. And my whole life, she blamed me for that abortion. And, you know, so I was never wanted. I was kind of in the way of her medical school. I was the reason my dad left. I was the reason for all this. So, um, at 8, we immigrated to America. It was her second marriage, to an American man. And, uh, they started a farm. He eventually divorced her because she was just drinking a lot, not very good person. And so he kicked us out. We lived in our van for a week. We were couch surfing. I got a full-time job when I was 12, cleaning houses. Um, and then I got into opioids. My mom actually introduced me to pills. And at 15, I was addicted to pills and
Did
painkillers.
she just did she just give them to you for just like
For pain, because
oh,
we were working at we were tending this huge private property. Not only did we, clean and cook. I made Thanksgiving dinners at 15 years old for, you know, and so she gave it to me just because I was in so much physical pain and I didn't want to go to work. There has been a lot of kind of these shenanigans of my mom trying to, I tried to do a modeling and acting in LA for about a year. I was homeschooled. but there was a terrible man there was, molesting on me. And so I asked to be taken back. There's a lot of like layers. And then I go
Yeah.
into Egypt. So um, I was glad my mom left and I didn't live with her since I was like 16. She went back to Ukraine, but here I am, full-time job with a painkiller closet addiction, which was very hard actually. I was a closet addict for 10 years, high functioning, went to school, got scholarships, but there's like this different personality in me. So I
Can I
eventually,
ask what
Mhm.
did you find? What did you? Because I know that um, there's just the addiction and the fact that you can't. You've done it for so long; it's really hard to stop. But what did it feel like for you at 16 to have something to rely on to help with pain? Did you find it help like at 16, was it something that you found comforting
Oh
or
yeah, I love
yeah.
the opioids. You kind of see the world through a veil. Everything just is fine. I didn't care what happened as long as I felt this euphoric bliss. And so I detoxed by myself. So I was so ashamed of my addiction. Was very closet about it. I'd never, I'd steal pills from people's homes. I mean, friends and family. I'd con doctors. I had this whole different personality. But for me, it made me not confront my childhood. It kind of numbed it, you know,
Right. Yeah.
constantly numbing it. Even then, I took therapy at 19 for a year, and I was going to tell her about it, but I was worried she was going to put me like in rehab or on some watch program. I wasn't ready to get rid of my crutch because at that point I didn't really feel like I was a full-blown addict because I wasn't taking the illegal substance. These are just prescribed medication. And when you take one or two or three a day every day, it kind of became a part of my routine. So I didn't see it. And because I was succeeding in other areas of my life, like relationships and friendships, I could keep friends, I can keep jobs. I wasn't on the streets. I
Right.
didn't equate that to an addict. An addict was someone that lived on the streets, but I was.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that, probably about 9 years in. I was like, I think I have a pill problem. And but it just made everything, clarity became a new high when I detoxed by myself. It was the worst 30 days of my life. I just told everybody I was sick. Um,
Mm.
and everything that I was numbing came up to the surface. Oh my gosh, everything that I thought I was okay with, no, wasn't. Right there, came bubbling up to the surface. And I was really mad at my mom. I remember that was my first reaction, is anger.
And she left you when you were 16 and you decided not to follow, or she was like, don't come after me. Just stay here.
She gave me um she kind of gave me that option because she took my sister away from her dad in Alaska.
Okay.
She wasn't telling me of her plans, so because she's violating a custody order. So I discovered that she was not coming back when she came to Ukraine when I was visiting my family. And then she shows up with my sister. And I'm like, what are you doing here? She's like, well, I want to tell you something. I'm actually going to stay here. I'm not coming back. And so she's like, well, you can stay here. But I'm like, well, I speak English. I've been working on my school. I want to get into universities. I want to study. I was like, I can't just pick up and leave. And honestly, I was happy not to be with her. Um, that was actually, I was like, this is probably for the better. We don't need to be together, living together.
Hmm.
And so I was okay with that. I was um, upset. I was mad. I was more angry than, because she kind of didn't set me on my feet. But I think I was more determined. As long as I had at least one pill a day, I was determined to make anything happen. So I still had a crutch for a while. And then I quit 2017. Or no, that's when my daughter's born, 2016. Um, I quit.
Can I ask what the detoxing felt like?
Uh, it feels like your hair follicles hurt. Everything hurts and is like buzzing. Everything's going through you. You're constantly, your bowels are, this is another side effect of opioids is you don't have normal bowel movements. You have to
Yeah.
take pills to help you with that. So I was like, I felt so bad that I hurt my body for so long. It's like a full on exorcism. Everything hurts and you're shaky and cold sweats, terrible dreams, nightmares of like falling. You just wake up of just, um, you want it so bad. You want that so much. You want that pill. I mean, I knew
Hmm.
if I took it again, I would be, I'm done for. So it was my deal with God. Faith really helped me. I said, God, I'm going to stop, but I want to, I need you to be there for me. And so I told him if I stop, I want a family. And so I kind of bargained with God. I promised him I'd do it. So, um,
Did your mom teach you about God? How did you know about God?
I, my grandmother in Ukraine, we would go to Easter Sundays, which is really fun. In Ukraine, we have to wake up before sunrise to go to the church, and he blesses the eggs and the special bread that we have. Um, my mom went to a Baptist church for like a couple years. Oh, that's a whole other.
Okay.
Uh,
You're
yeah,
like,
she
it's
forced
not
me.
computing. It's not.
Like she forced me to go, and then she told everybody at the church that I lost my virginity. It was so embarrassing. She had everybody pray for me. I think she was just like,
Wow.
my mom was once part of a cult too, like this Russian one. This was years. This I was already in my 20s. She's like, she just grabs onto whatever the next thing is. The Earth is flat. She's part of the Flat Earth Society for a year, and then this Russian cult, and this Buddhism, and then she just, I don't know. She's all over the place. So, uh, very unstable person. Um,
But that
and
gave you some sort of concept that there is somebody out there.
yes, I prayed to. I remember praying over my mom being drunk at the age of 6, saying, "I just want her to be happy." I always prayed for her happiness. Like God gave me, he was almost someone to talk to when I was young.
Hmm.
And I always believed that there's more to life than like what I'm seeing now. And that really helped me, I guess, through everything. I'm not sure where that was instilled in me. I don't have a lot of memories of my before the age of 6, even 8. I have a few memories, but I was very like that kid that was like out in nature all the time, climbing trees by myself and just talking to someone. That was me. So I think that somewhere, um, yeah, God was always there for me. So, um, and there was times I was mad at him, for everything. I was like, why are you putting me through this? Why? And then, um, I
Hmm.
realized that it made me just a stronger person. And when I leaned into him more, I think it was after I've already came back here with my daughter. It was like a week after we escaped Egypt, and I'm sitting there, on the steps. I used to smoke cigarettes. I rolled a cigarette, and I'm looking up at the sky. It was like 4 a.m. and I'm like, okay, God, if you really are real and you're really here, and this is where I should be, you're gonna make one of these stars fall. And a star fell. Like 3 minutes later, I was watching the sky and it fell. And so that's when I was like, okay, so he's been there all along. Doesn't matter what I'm going through. And that's when my faith really grew in him more. I thought it
Hmm.
was a very special moment for me. Yeah. So you can
Okay,
find
so
in that. Mhm.
So at 16, you were saying you're going through withdrawal on your own, which I can only
No,
imagine.
25. It's at 25.
Okay.
So from 15 to 25 years of age, I was abusing opioids. So at 25. Mhm.
You went through all of that, what you were describing, all those pain, everything on your own.
Yeah, I was, I couldn't, the first time I've ever talked about my addiction, even to my sister, family, or friends, or even my ex boyfriend, was when I started writing my memoir at the age of 30. I never
Oh,
told anyone. The only person that would really know is my mom, because in my book, I do spend some time with her in Portugal, and I find that she's still abusing them. And you know, I found them in her purse. So I don't, I think she was even still 100% abusing the drugs. And I think the only person that knows that I was is my mom, but she didn't say anything because she was also an addict. Yeah.
so when you got clean at 25, do you remember the day when you started feeling a little normal again? How did that feel?
So I quit December 27th, 2015, 16, 15. Um, Clarity was weird. Um, the sounds, the sights, the tastes, everything was like new.
Hmm.
But I fried my receptors so bad, that pain now for me is, I feel it, like my pain tolerance is very low. Um, and so the first time, yeah, it was, noticed that I use it as a crutch in social situations. Um, I use it as a crutch to, kind of give myself that energy to do something that day, like working or going for a run. I used it for many things. And yeah, I felt like I had more time too. That was an interesting concept of it. I felt like everything was so new and novel. And
Hmm.
um, so since then, uh, I've had two surgeries, um, and I would ask them not to give me any prescribed medication after. So the doctor releases you with
Yeah.
hydrocodone or something. I told him, you can't give me that. He's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm just going to have to take it for a day or two, which is interesting because it hurts for a day. Just ice it, or whatever. Just if we could just take it for one day of pain, you don't need those pills. Just some good old ibuprofen. And
Yeah.
so yeah, like I can't have them. I know that I would just like them too much. So I avoid it as much as I can. Obviously, when I was under anesthesia, they are probably pumping me with morphine, but um, otherwise, like I can't be sent home with a bottle of pills. Don't give them to me. So
Yeah. So what was after you finished with the detoxing, where did life take you?
after I detoxed, so I was detoxing in Egypt. I got married, and I had my daughter December uh, seven in December of 2017. So then in my book goes into it, my ex-husband, eventually we start, lots going on. He ended up leaving us, and then I ended up running away from Egypt. So where it led me is, to a better place. Yes. I had my daughter, but I think my detox is just like in the middle of my story. And then I start to realize, like, what have I been doing for the last 10 years? I should have not done this. I should have been traveling all over the world. When you're an addict, you make these impulsive decisions because it doesn't really matter what it is as long as you're happy.
Right.
So I felt like I'd ruined my life. Like I shouldn't even be here right now. Why am I in Egypt? Like everything was like, why am I doing this? but you find yourself already in that so deep. So I had to be like, okay, I'm accepting that this is where I'm at. I have to make the best of it. You can't say, "Oh, I'm just kidding. I wasn't in my right state of mind doing all
Yeah.
this." You can't go back, you know?
Yeah.
So shamed. I was very shamed, but I had to just keep moving forward and hoping this is where I should be.
And for individuals listening, they're going to say Egypt. Like, they're going to, the title of your book's going to start clicking. But how did you meet your husband in Egypt?
I met him. He was a friend of my roommates, and we met at a hotel because in Egypt, um, like you can't bring a man unless you're married to him to your apartment or anywhere. So he kind of was a friend of a friend that was asked to come up for drinks. We used to rent hotel rooms to go have even drinks. But I was ready to leave that country. I'll leave a lot of the details out of why. And um, yeah, I didn't take anything of him besides that he was very well spoken and he was really nice to me. And I was in trouble back then, and I needed some help getting out. I needed, I didn't know who to ask. My visa was expired. I needed to renew that.
Hmm.
And he was my hero a lot of the times. Um, he ended up, we ended up having a very long distance relationship for 2 years while I was in the United States, and I went to Portugal. And so we were constantly in contact. And so when my mother, all of her shenanigans, when she kicked me out, because I exposed her addiction to her and saying, I know everything that you're doing. And she was very mean to me too. She kicked me out on the streets in Portugal. And my ex-husband, he was the only person that would help me. So he's like, okay, I can help you, but you have to come to Egypt. I can get you a place. We can get you a good, better job.
Hmm.
And his family was very nice to me. They rented an apartment for me. A mother that I've never met is more of a mother to me than my own mother.
Yeah.
Very nice family. I got to know them, him. I worked as a teacher, English teacher. We had plans to immigrate. It was all kumbaya until it wasn't. And that's hence to my escape from it. So, and restarted my life here in 2018 with my daughter and just $500 in my pocket and 2 bags, and wrote a book about it. So now I'm
Can
here.
you share some of the details of what happened, why you left Egypt?
Yes. Well, he left us when she was a few months old because he found somebody else. And I got to know that. So I let the family know that, hey, he's got someone else. I don't know why he's cheating on me. He's never home. Um, and then that's a no go because in Egypt, that's actually a crime punishable by law. To infidelity is. So
Hmm.
yeah, I had all the evidence,
But I saw, one of your Instagram posts, you say that you see red flags even before. No, I'm sorry. You said the quote was like marriage ends, divorce has already started when you've gotten married, but you don't even see it. But it's like it's already happened. You get
Yeah,
married, and it's like it's already doomed to fail.
it's already
What
doomed to.
What
Mhm.
was the sign for you at the very beginning that was kind of like, I don't think this is gonna work, but it's fine.
There was actually two. One is when we would travel to Ukraine with him, he liked the attention of other females, without with me being there, but just the way he would kind of sit and look at them longer than usual. I wasn't really not so much of a jealous type, but I noticed he would seek out these behaviors, and then I would say something. He's like, no, you're just imagining it. The second one I
Mm.
knew was um, he couldn't put together IKEA furniture. Honestly, I was like, this guy's never used a drill. Okay. And then the other one, I mean, that's honest to God. I was like, I don't know
No,
how
it's really good.
the red flags. I mean, obviously, a lot of the critique I get is like, well, he's a Muslim. Why would you marry a Muslim? He is. The red flags was I was hearing it from other people saying he's never going to change. My mind at the time was like, no, we're moving to the United States. The whole family knows this. Like we talk about it openly with his family, and everyone, the expats in Egypt are like, are you kidding me? Like this is you caught the my Muhammad is different syndrome. I was so in denial because of first the external world telling me that. Second is my internal world saying, no, I have went through so much. This man knows my background. He knows how hard I'm trying to make it work. Uh he can't do this to me. Like I had this belief, I detoxed, I went through all of this hardships in my life. I was like life statistically cannot be going any worse. Like I have been
Yeah.
at my bottom, this is my way out. This is my I love him. Like he can't be lying to me. So there's that denial of how can he ever change? How can he not go through his promises? My gosh, the comments I get on my videos are just like, you didn't Google this? Why did you go to Egypt? I was like, I literally was stealing bread from a hostel. My father's can't help me. He's poor in a village in Ukraine. He has no communication,
Yeah.
really. My mother hates me my whole life. She kicked me out because she's an alcohol and a drug addict. And I threatened to tell that because she's not taking care of my sisters. So she protected the bottle more than me. Uh, I have nowhere to go. I have no home.
Right.
I came to Portugal to ask my mother for help. I mean, like, that was my only choice. Is like, I can get you to Egypt. That's where I can help you now. And then we can start a life together. So, you know, yeah, I trusted him. I completely trusted him because I had nobody else. Beggars can't be choosers. I had no
Yeah.
one else. And so I believed our life would be great until it wasn't. Until he left us for another woman. He said, you're not ever leaving Egypt with my daughter. You're going to stay here and raise her. And then I was like, wow, this whole thing has been a trap. Now my whole life is ruined. I have a baby. Most people miss the point through my videos, not when they read the book. Through my videos, they miss the point of, I'm like, I did a very resilient thing, and not knowing my background and my state of mind is really taking it out of context. So I do look like this naive, blonde, dumb girl going into Egypt and marrying somebody. Yeah, that's what it looks like from a news segment. But the story, like all of them, are always layers deep. And
No, it's, I mean, it's, if I can interject for a second, I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
two things. I mean, I think in the culture we live in now, first of all, I've spoken with some Muslims who are living either in the United States now or not, but they're very kind people. Like the culture is very warm a
yeah,
lot of the times, and the there is like Sharia law. There is aspects of individuals who are actually following the Quran to a T, where it's like, this is very, and this is my opinion, but it is scary, and women are in extreme. Some women have gone through some horrific abusive situations due to that. But a lot of Muslims that I have met are actually, they don't follow the Quran very well. Like they don't actually know all, everything that's in it. They're very kind people. They're very open. So like for people to say, "Oh, it's really naive of you." I mean, the type of Muslim violence you see on the TV, that's not what's happening all the time. That's not what
Right.
every Muslim is like. And that is something that I find is extremely hard to talk to sometimes to people about, because you're like, we got to look a little bit bigger here, because you're saying all Muslims are like this. I guarantee if you met most Muslims, you'd like them. Like they just wouldn't be this violent hacking that's going to happen to you.
Right.
Um, but it does happen, and there's extremists. It's true. There is, people who are living under Sharia law are under oppression. But I mean, I always, it's kind of, I grew up in a world too where a lot of my family was like, everybody around me in the community was like, Muslims are bad. There was just like no
Uh-huh.
exceptions. And then as I grew up and started talking and learning more, I was like, yes, the Quran, I do not agree with the Quran. I believe there's violence, but I've met a lot of Muslims and they're very kind people. They're very warm, they're very hospitable. There's some traditions that are very unique and all of this. So first of all, I'm so sorry, because to me I'm like, not, that didn't hit me. I also think to myself, like, how many of us, I mean, every person in an abusive situation faces that question of, are you dumb? Why did you do that? And it's like,
Mhm.
you
And now I
don't
have the layer
see
of the
it.
Muslim on top of it, right? So
Right.
now it's a double whammy. But I'm
But I
like,
was gonna, it's it's so, it doesn't matter if the person's Muslim, Chinese, an alien. I mean, really, it's just like, it's a dysfunctional situation. That's the root. It's so complex. So I'm
it is.
sorry you face that kind of, because it's a very limited view.
It's a limited view. I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not marrying somebody that they think is like, running around the streets shouting Allahu Akbar, like, no, you guys, we speak English. They're super westernized. They're great people. The family, my daughter's family. I'm not talking bad about them. What happened between us was something that happens here too, is,
Yeah.
you don't think
Yeah.
white Christian men leave? How about the other races? They leave their wives for somebody else. This happens. There's abuse, there's manipulation, there's neglect, this happens.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
doesn't matter what your background is, but they're like, oh, because he's a Muslim. I was like, there's women probably in your neighborhood that are trapped in the cycle of abuse and can't even go down the street to see their mom.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I ran a whole country. You guys are missing the point. You're missing the whole point of why, try to leave your abuser with a baby away from a country as if it's criminal activity into a country, my home country, where I have no roots right now. Like, I don't want to be a hero. That's the other side. It's like, it's not the hero part. I want to show, and interesting, I have so many women reaching out to me
Hmm.
that have been in this situation, have done the same thing, are too scared to talk about it because whether they can't or they don't want to be found. I have a woman I'm talking to who's in the process of escaping. How did you do it? Like, dozens of women. I got to check in on everyone, passport issues, this and that. And what am I going to tell them? Like, why did you marry a Muslim? You know, no, I'm not going to ask them why they decided that. I understand that. We're, the Muslim man portrays himself as very, very masculine energy, very masculine. They're the providers, they're the protectors. You don't have to do anything. I'll do everything for you. You're the princess treatment until they don't want to, or until they want to take it all back and, hey, I'm going to go get another princess. So, you know, there are qualities that, and it's interesting, a lot of Eastern European women are attracted to Muslim men, Arabs. And growing up there too, it was kind of like, wow, he's like, there's so much to it, but I don't expect every American to understand that because we do live in a little bubble here. So the only thing they really do see is from social media, which is, it's like, go travel the world and then come back and let's talk about it. But you don't know, you can't just put a whole religion and tell everybody's terrible. And then, yeah, You know, there are a lot of cases where this kind of interfaith, interracial, interfaith marriages work out. I know 3 people in Cairo who have great marriages and they're fine. You know, it's not it's Sharia came into play because of our child custody understanding. That's where Sharia law came into play for me. And so that's where I decided, like, nah, I'm not gonna, this has never been the plan. And I don't want my daughter to grow up here. I told you I don't want my daughter to grow up here. We went through so much for me not to be here. And so that's when I decided to do that. And that's very heartbreaking actually for my daughter. You know, I had to still to this day explain to her. I mean, I mourned her. I mourned uh breaking up her family. You know, was she gonna hate me? So much that went through this. But and now to this day, you know, she does know her dad. You know, we went through a lot to get to this point where we are now, where things are fine. So, but that's not what sells books and helps get my story out. So, um, yeah, so custody, as far as I have full custody, and he has visitations and he comes here to visit her, and, you know, things like that, you know, but it took a long time to get to this part of the story. So that's not in my book. My book leaves you off with hope. Um, I'm homeless, but or living at my friend's house. I have no job. Uh, and I just took my baby from a country and I turned my phone off. And it leaves my reader with that, but it gives a good lesson of what I learned along the way and hope. So it doesn't leave on this fairy tale ending. It just that's shows the process of what makes a person resilient. You got to adapt, change, uh, when needed, pivot. You know, you can't mourn what happened. That's what a resilient person is. And that's what I walk you through that constantly of what my decisions were to the point after my sobriety. Yeah, I was like, whoa, we got to really straighten this out. And so uh it's hope, but yeah, people are very hyper super focused on the Muslim part, and now I'm saying that they're like, oh, she's pro everything. I'm just I have to kind of leave that out. Very touchy subject right now for everyone in the US. Yeah.
Don't worry, it's uh I learned pretty early on to this channel that I have to go through all the comments and I have to approve them before they go on. So you won't see any of those. I'll see them for you, then they'll be
Okay.
deleted. But I I'm gonna you know, it's true. So many abusive situations and women would totally get your story, so you wouldn't be hearing from that. But I did want to ask, like, why do you think you so fiercely wanted to keep your daughter? Because it's so interesting how in situations like this where you've grown up, where it's like you're hated, you either end up being very much like the person without either realizing it, or you do realize it and don't care, or you do the complete opposite. And it's interesting because for you, you really wanted your daughter, but also having her does remind you of a marriage that ended badly. Um, how did you, like, what was it that you were like, I'm gonna do anything to keep her so I don't lose her?
Uh, First of all, she's completely innocent to the world that she's born into. I
Yeah,
wasn't mentally, I don't think I was ready to be a mom at that point, but
yeah,
you know, God decided this is the time. So I was like, okay, so this is, I have to go through this. Of course, I wanted to be more stable as far as we just got married. I mean, I conceived on my honeymoon night. That's how, like, wow, you know, uh, even being very, very careful. I mean, it's just, it was, to me, it was a miracle, you know? And so So why did I want her? I didn't, my mom blamed me my whole life. Directly saying that and then indirectly showing me that. And I'm like, that's not my fault for being born, you know? Why would I blame my daughter for that? And I wanted her life to be um, nothing like mine. I want to break that generational cycle. I'm not, I don't want to be that terrible mom. I don't know how my mother sleeps at night. I really don't understand. So I knew I only have one shot because a lot of our programming develops up to the age of 6, 7. Like the brain learns that
Yeah.
base software downloaded. I'm like, okay, so she's gonna see me in Egypt as this totally depressed um, woman that's, alone, or I'm not. I didn't get to do my hobbies. Very restricting for me to live there. Again, our my promise and what we were working towards was to immigrate until he stopped with that whole process. And it was silly for me to believe that he would actually do it, because his whole life is there too. We were, we came to terms with all that, him and I, understanding all of this. So, for our daughter's sake, because it's not her fault. Um, yeah, I wanted her to have a life that doesn't, even though there's trauma as far as she doesn't get to live with both of her families, but I normalize it for her, and so does he. Like, it your mommy wanted you to live here in the United States, and I did. And I think she has more opportunities. Obviously, we live in one of the greatest countries in the world, and a lot of people don't really realize that, but we do, because they haven't been outside of it. They don't have a comparison. But I wanted her
Yeah.
to. I was determined to give her the best I could, and I just didn't see Egypt. Mind you, there are people that are, Egyptian people that are born there and they know the system and they have their families and they have their circles and they raise amazing children. I just couldn't do that for her there. It's not my culture.
Right.
So I just, yeah, I can't ever, somehow I have this anger towards, like, not, I don't really know if the word is anger. I don't really tolerate sometimes a lot of people who are like, um, don't try to work on themselves. You see what I mean? Like they're kind of like, if I was to be like anything that I was brought up to be, uh, I would hate myself. And I guess that kind of clicked for me as I'm not going to be like my mom for my daughter. So that, like, one of the things was like, I'm going to detox. And then I had her. There was still a lot of like, I'm not physically living where I wanted to be. So that was an issue, right? But she came at this time where I don't have any say in it. I just have to go forward. And so I was willing to do anything for her because I want her to grow up and be an amazing person, and the world needs amazing people and not broken ones. And it starts with the mother. It's the mother's choice. It's a huge responsibility. It's like, don't traumatize your kids. Do as least amount as you can. And then the world will be a better place, trust me. I think so. Hurt people, but there has to be somebody that breaks that chain of pain.
Yeah.
So my book does go into that generational pain,
Mhm.
um, the importance of it, how pain is a virus. We're nobody's immune to it, but somebody has to just stop blaming the next generation or putting it on. Just let's take accountability for our own pain. So, um, yeah, I'd do anything for her, because I want her to be a great member of this society and be a good mom to her kids. So,
Yeah. Can I ask, and because I want people to read your book, so of course the escape and all of this we want them to read about, but can you say one thing in the escape journey that was the hardest part of the escape journey, you think, for you?
The hardest part was actually making that decision. The
Yeah.
the fear of the unknown of what could happen if we got caught. The fear of not knowing if he put a travel ban on us, because that's, my escape was I booked a flight and I went on that flight. But I didn't know if he had a travel ban put in place, and I couldn't check that without giving away what I'm doing. I can't be
Right.
like, "Hey, so did you put a travel ban on us?" You're like, "Oh, what are you trying to leave?" I guess the whole thing was hard, but yeah, making that decision and then playing the role of like I've accepted my life here, but secretly trying to establish a visitation schedule, my schedule. So when I do decide to leave, no one's calling us for 48 hours because I need that window of time. Crossing the border to the US too with her was interesting because, first of all, she looks nothing like me. She's never been to the United States. She was born not in the United States. I transferred her my citizenship. She got that. Now it's not legal anymore. But um, so they asked me, they're like, whose baby is this? I'm like, oh my God, not only am I kidnapping my own daughter, I could be kidnapping somebody else's daughter. You know? It looks nothing like me. I was like, she's mine. I have birth certificates. I have all this. So that was just like interesting coming back to your own country. Um, but it's just the grooming I had to do for them. It's the planning of, we lived in a gated community where there were security guards at the gates and walking the premises. So they were all keeping tabs on me. So figuring that part out and then just getting to the airport, I'm like, um, what if he calls and asks, where are you? His family is very connected, and his dad works high up in the government too. So the hardest part was making that decision. Like, okay, what's on the other side? I have no idea. Or I just have a couch to go to. Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to start over? Am I going to relapse? Am I going to meet the wrong people? Am I going to be weak? Am I going to blame my daughter for all this stuff? Am I just that wheel in my head? Like, wow. I mean, it's hard to move out of your town. Imagine moving to nowhere with a baby with $500. you know it's
Yeah.
like, but I was like, no, I have to take that shot because the fear of staying outweighed the fear of leaving, the
Right.
fear of living in this bubble and in this life. I was like, I got to do that. I got to take this risk. It's going to be the biggest risk, but if I win, the reward's going to be big. I know it. So I put my head down and I took a deep breath. I'm like, no, we got to do this. And so I try to keep my nerves calm that whole time, slip the key under the door. We got into that unmarked van. We yeah, went through all that. And when I came back here, I was like, okay, now the real work begins. The lawyers, the getting my own first place, getting my car, getting jobs. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I didn't think writing that would be is just the triumphs of it. I gave you my psychological development through this stage. And then I think I leave the reader with hope that, like, oh no, she's gonna make it. She finally realized those lessons that I wanted to realize, which are all in my book. So yeah, it's a heavy read. It's I do give a little before you read disclaimer. There's a lot of triggering events, maybe for those who have been through this kind of abuse. So, um, you know, step gently into those pages. So, and yeah, my hopes with it is, like I said, it does feed a charity. I make my living other ways. Uh, and so I think it's a good story for anybody who's just have come from a very bad who have been dealt the wrong cards and then they think like, okay, well, this is it, or my pain defines me, my trauma defines me. No, it doesn't. It redefines you. It redefines you as a person, and your strength to make it in this world. You had to go through that for a reason.
Yeah.
It's God puts his best warriors where? On the front lines. So yeah.
Well, just to respect your time, one last question. What I know you know one image that really stuck out to me when you were talking is how you said that you would hold yourself at one point and you would be a mother to yourself in a physical sense, wrap your arms and be like, it's going to be okay, I'm here. Um Now looking back, now being closer to your 40s and you've established yourself in America and you have your daughter and you've worked out the situation with the custody. What comforts you now? Just what gives you comfort?
Comfort in like things will be okay, or just comfort in what happened?
What comfort in the things you don't know? Comfort in like who's looking out for you? Because like you're looking out for your daughter, right? And then as you break this cycle of
Mm,
trauma, you're not looking to her to comfort you because you want her to feel safe and you want her to feel equipped to go out into the world and not feel like she's always looking behind her and going, is mom okay, that kind of thing. So
mhm,
I see you putting that strength into her and wanting to do that.
mhm.
But who's comforting? What is comforting you when you're really struggling, or when you're scared or having a hard time?
Well, I have a good sister. She's my everything, and I'm her everything. My sister's great. She lives in Denver. I have good friends. I have faith. I really have faith in everything. Um, and just yeah, I do get like that worn out mom. Like you give, you give, you give, you give, you give, and you give. You're constantly pouring from an empty cup. Um, I have to channel that. I got to take more me time as far as not being a mom all the time. That would help me. There are moments, uh I have dealt with so much that I'm like, okay, my nerves are very how do I say it? Worked. Like I could get I'm on my like always my last nerve. Like I my last nerve has been like 2018. I left it there. So um there are days where I just need to be like completely alone and in silence. Like I'm myself, like I'm a introverted extrovert. I prefer my own company, but if there's times I need to go out and socialize, I will. But I love to just be alone and not think about anything. And that really resets me, or being in nature, going on a solo trip somewhere. That's so fun for me. I try to get out of Nevada a lot. And so, who's there for me? My sister, as far as family. I do have grandma. Um, I don't talk to my mom, which is fine. I wished her the best. I help her out through my grandma whenever she needs something, but only if I can. And so, yeah, it's just, and then knowing that I help somebody, knowing that my story kind of inspires someone, that makes me feel so good. I feel like everything I've been through, um, there's a purpose for it. That's why people write their survival stories, is to feel that
Yeah.
like sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So thanks for that question. It's a good, no one's ever asked me that. That's nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I would hope so for you.
Who's there for me?
But
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. It's been such a gift to talk to you. Also, your voice is, I mean, I don't know if this is weird to say, but your voice is beautiful. Like listening to it, your
Oh,
voice is just, it's like you've been gifted with a voice of extreme. Like if I Like, it's just, I don't know. This is so weird to say, but I was just like, it sounds um, like an ethereal being talking. Like, your voice is just really beautiful.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
I'm
I,
just, I'm so calmed.
yeah, I'm actually recording my audiobook right now, and so maybe I have learned to be like this. I've been recording it this week, interestingly. So I think I'm in this when the mic is in my face now. But no, this is my real voice. But I wanted to say to you, I've been on maybe like 4 podcasts, and maybe probably 2 or 3, something. Not just a handful of times. But I want to say with you, I have been the most authentic and like just relaxed, and I think you bring that out too. It's just the way you ask, and I don't have to. Anyways, I think this was a great talk. I enjoy you as well. So
Oh, thank you.
it's nice.
Well, have a good doctor's appointment.
I will. I should focus on my posture, see what it does to me.
Well, after all you mentioned, I was like, I think your pain must have started at 6 or something.
Finally, they're like, okay, so now that you feel it, here you go. Why don't you feel it all? Thanks. Right. Thank you.
All right, bye. Thank you.